Coming up on This Week in Radio Tech, I'm Kirk Harnack at the Alabama Broadcasters Association meeting, the convention in Birmingham, Alabama. And we're going to be talking to Steve Westbrook here with the Alabama Historical Radio Society, as well as a number of other engineers and manufacturers rep. All that is coming up next on TWiRT.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionics Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. By Nautel, worry-free transmission you can count on with outstanding control, reliability, efficiencies, and Nautel's unmatched 24/7 customer support. Online at nautel.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts.
Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack here in Birmingham, Alabama. We're at the convention, the annual convention of the Alabama Broadcasters Association, or the ABA. That's the banner behind me here. Sorry you can't see the whole thing, but the ABA banner is clearly behind me. And we're going to do the show here from the Broadcasters Convention, talking to a bunch of different broadcast engineers. Some of them, are manufacturers reps, and others are engineers, and some are both. And our first guest is both.
Thank you very much.
You're doubly afflicted.
Yes, I am consumed with it.
This is my longtime friend. He reminded me a few minutes ago that I have known Bob now for probably 33 years.
Something like that.
At least.
Yeah.
How did you find me to begin with?
You came well recommended.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, by people who are easily
That
influenced.
was money well spent.
Yeah. And they said, well, if you need some help in this town, you need to call Kirk Harnack. So I did. And you came over and helped me, and we knocked out the project in a day.
Were we in Memphis, or did I drive somewhere else?
No, we were in Memphis. We were actually in Mississippi, just across the state line at the transmitter site for one of the stations I had. The transmitter was physically in Mississippi.
Okay. All right. We retuned an exciter, didn't we?
We actually changed the frequency on a transmitter that we were installing, and we had it in place, but it was on the wrong frequency. And you said, I can handle that, and click, 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 and you've done it.
Well, we start with the exciter, the FM exciter, and for those of you who are, most of you are engineers watching this, so if I say FM exciter, you know what that is. But for those who don't know, when an FM radio station transmits, they start with a little device called an exciter, and that's what actually puts the station on the frequency that's desired.
That's right. And if the FM doesn't exciter, you could try roses or candy.
That's right. And then the exciter puts out a few watts, and then the transmitter amplifies that up to the tens, hundreds, or thousands, or tens of thousands of watts that the station is authorized to transmit.
Absolutely. That's the way it works.
And so
that's the plan anyway.
You set the exciter to the correct frequency, and then you have to tune the rest of the transmitter so that its resonant circuits will resonate at or near that frequency.
That's it. Hey, you know your stuff.
Well, I try.
Yeah.
And the way you haven't done it right is if there's no power output and there's smoke.
Yes, or you hit the thing that says plate on and it goes bang.
Bang is bad. So Bob is an engineer. You've been an engineer for a long time.
I started engineering, I guess should say, in 73.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
Good gosh.
Now I was only 60 then. But,
So and now you work for a broadcast equipment dealer.
I do. SCMS, which originally stood for Southern Coastal Marketing System, that nobody knows that anymore. We just go by SCMS. And then we found out that there's a government program called SCMS. So that gets a little confusing because we both have 800 numbers.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So you kind of straddle both lines here. Now you have a real love for older broadcast gear.
I do. I grew up in that era of tubes and non-digital equipment, if you will. And so myself and a few other people still hang on to the memories and try to keep the old equipment working.
Wow. And you've rebuilt a lot of old equipment.
Oh, tons of it. Just ask my wife. But she says at least it keeps you off the street at night, so go ahead and do it. But repainting, refinishing, rewiring, installing new components in old stuff. That's the kind of thing.
It's better than gambling with the boys in the alley.
Much better and safer and legal. Yeah.
So actually, we're gonna tease something coming up later on in the show. We're gonna be talking with Steve Westbrook, and he is from the Alabama Historical Radio Society. This is a brochure. We got a display booth next to us. Steve's going to carry us through a little tour of some of the equipment there and tell us about the Historical Society. But they have a disc jockey booth, and in that booth, you can't see it too well here. I'm not even going to try to really show it, but there's an audio console in this disc jockey booth that you had a hand in fixing.
That console was a Gates 1954 Dulux broadcast console that WATV here in Birmingham used for years and years and years and years, and finally retired it. And the engineer for the station, Joe Dennessy, came to me and he says, I want to redo this console. I'll rewire it if you'll repaint it. You refinish it. So I did, and now I'm proud to say it's on display. And people always ask me, why is it yellow instead of gray? Because at that time all their equipment was painted gray. Right. And I said, because Joe was tired of looking at it color, so we painted it a different color.
That wasn't that all that gear called? Was it Battleship Gray? Is that what they
Battleship Gray? I think that's right. Yeah.
Wow. But it was kind of built like battleships.
Oh, let me tell you, that console. Well, obviously, it's still running. And how old is that? You know.
At the Historical Society.
Yes. Yeah. I speaking of the Historical Society, they in April asked me to come and speak to the annual meeting of the Historical Society of the Legends Division.
It's off camera here, but there's a plaque up here. Well, there's a board with your name, a bunch of people's names on it, including yours.
Yes, and I started off my little speech with, the only reason I'm here is because I'm this old and still alive and can tell these stories. And they said, no, you've done all this good stuff. And I said, well, so has thousands of other guys, but and ladies. But anyway, I'm proud to be here.
Now, something else that you do, we want to mention before we have to go. While you are selling broadcast gear and while you are repairing old broadcast gear and enjoying the aroma of tubes lighting up and that kind of thing, you are also listening to oldies music that you have something to do with a show.
Yes, I've got a syndicated oldies show, which I make thousands of nothing for doing. But I do a 2-hour oldie show that's syndicated on 15 radio stations right now. Looking for more. If you're out there and need a good oldie show on your weekend, I'm your guy. But anyway, it's we do 60s oldies, which actually includes late 50s and early 70s. But we've got the authentic Pam's jingles from yesteryear and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And I just that's my escape. I just go. I have a home studio, and I go down and do the show and send it out to the various stations.
And is there a website or is there a list of stations that carry it?
Actually, you can. Other than there's a website, www.goodtimegold.com, and also SoundCloud.airchecks has the program, and I feed them just like they were a station, so you can get them anytime. You don't have to listen when it's on the air. You can listen anytime.
Okay. Well, we will get those links in our show notes for today's show, and that way people can find it.
That'd be great. Thank you.
And it's been great having you. Would you join us for a whole hour sometime?
I would love to do that.
Okay.
This is easier than I thought.
Okay. Well, do I have to ply you with any teases or gifts or anything like that? Do I have to send you a PBR or something to get you on the show?
No, I think just asking will be good enough.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Well, it's at this time in the show, normally we do an ad for Nautel, and I've been stalling here waiting for Jeff Welton to show up, and he was supposed to be here at top of the hour, and here it is 10 after. He's still talking.
Now, there's Jim Armstrong.
There's Jim Armstrong. We're going to get Jim Armstrong in here to chat with us. So
this guy he's legendary.
He is.
He's outstanding in his own field.
Bob Mayben, thank you very much. Bob Mayben has been our first guest on This Week in Radio Tech, and there's no elegant way to exit. You just have to get up and exit. I'm sorry. I can't put the camera directly on me. Everybody's going to see you exit. Everybody watch Bob exit now.
That's all, folks.
Okay. We're waiting on Jeff Welton to come in. And Suncast programming note for you. We will have the the Nautel ad coming along as soon as Jeff Welton gets over here. Come on in, Jim. So sometimes we get to do these live shows where we're at a convention and we just talk to one engineer after another, letting you talk to the people that I find interesting at these shows. Now, Jim Armstrong, you see, we work at the same company, so I'm paid to find him interesting. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Kirk. How are you?
Jim, you've been in radio forever. You were doing traffic and on the air in Boston.
Yeah. I started out doing traffic at, I started out at a kilowatt station in Salem, Mass, and then moved on. I was at WEEI for a while and then did traffic on WBZ for a number of years. And then I realized that my kids probably wanted to go to college and live in a house, not an apartment. So I started selling for Burke Technology, and I've been, years go by, and now I've been with Telos 18 years now. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
I'm chasing you. I'm on your tail.
I've been at Telos 24.
Yeah.
So now, do you consider yourself an engineer at all?
No.
But
talent, and I've learned whatever I've learned from broadcasting. I always had an aptitude for it when I was in the field.
Yeah.
So I could make things work. They'd send me out on remotes, usually the tough ones, when I had to make it happen, and I made it happen. So I kind of had that aptitude, and then, just through the years doing different jobs for different companies and different demos, you learn a lot along.
One of the things I've noticed about broadcast engineers, including myself, is that when we're in the market for a new technology or a new piece of equipment or a new system, we may not know all about it. In fact, we just talked to an engineer a little while ago that was still a little shaky on the idea of SIP telephones, right? And it was a real pleasure to talk to him and say, I know where you are because I went through the same thing. And here's what I found out. You need to do this, have this in place, use these words to buy this. And so we're here to help people out. Now, you have not been an engineer, but you have talked to hundreds and hundreds of engineers. And so you can kind of speak their language, knowing how to put a system together.
I've seen guys that I know right off the bat in 10 seconds whether they'll get it or whether they won't get it, and it's generally nomenclature. Right. Nomenclature is a huge thing. And that was one of those words that I learned early on at Burke. Being able to talk our language to multiple people on things and what they're referring to. A lot of people will refer to, it's the old copier machine as a Xerox, right?
Right.
Or your telephone hybrid's a Gentner.
Yeah.
Oh, I got the Gentner over here. I got the Telos over there.
Yeah.
It's more than that. It's a hybrid, right? So it's when you can break down that and talk the proper nomenclature, or at least translate it for other people, that kind of tears down a lot of walls.
Yeah.
And
that's so even in the deep technical field, when you are a deeply technical engineer, when you're dealing with a professional from an allied industry, you still may have a different language. So we've had back in the days of T1 or PRI, we had PRI phones, and we don't have that much anymore. But back when Rolf Taylor worked for our company, Rolf was great because he would help bridge this language translation. And so broadcast engineers would call the phone company. They'd say, I need a PRI. And the salesperson would say, well, we don't sell PRI. Well, I know you do. My competitor has PRI. Oh no, we have super PRI. Things like that just mess up the whole conversation. And you've got to get over junk like that.
We sell a lot of phone systems to non-broadcast entities, right? Sure.
Yeah.
Town councils that have town meetings, monthly meetings, and weekly meetings, whatever. And they're trying to institute a hybrid system, a phone hybrid system, into their public thing. And they don't quite understand things like mix minus. Right. So how do I get to put this on where there's no squeal coming through the speakers, or how do I do this where I'm not getting, I can hear audio coming through in the PA. Yeah. And you got to kind of explain that stuff to people,
So one thing I've been talking about virtualized audio gear, broadcast gear for years now, and now we have a number of on-the-air examples of people doing this. We just talked about Aldine's Kitchen, owned by Jason Aldine in Gatlinburg, and there's one in Nashville. And in Gatlinburg, they're using this Axia Alta stuff. So now, in fact, Bob Mayben, who was just on, he asked me about 2 hours ago, hey, people are asking me about this virtual stuff, Kirk. What do I need to know? And so, now we're educating our dealers about stuff like that. What are you hearing people want them to virtual versus hardware?
They want to know. It's funny. Once you start talking about it, they want to know all there is to know about it at first. And then you start getting into all there is to know about a container or how, and it really, That stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're
You
right.
know, it's a console. It plays on your laptop or a browser, and it's got an engine.
Yep.
And that's really, they don't really, especially talent, they don't need to understand how that all works. Look, how's my workflow going to be affected? Am I going to have to come in and learn something new, or is it going to be basically the same thing, just a newer version of it? And that's really kind of the fun part, is teaching people that stuff. And I try to, make it as, I don't want to say dumb it down, but I want to make it simpler for them to understand and make sure that it's really nothing mysterious. Yeah, there's stuff that goes on in the background, but before there was stuff that went on in the background that you didn't know about.
Right.
But it was
Right.
given to you in a purpose-built appliance box. Now that box is just a different box.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you're going to use it the same way you used it before.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to have a
Yeah.
fader, you're going to have a bus assignment, you're going to have an on-off button.
Yeah.
Talking to the microphone.
Yeah. And you're going to bring legacy audio into it, or if you play something out of a computer player, it may be connected directly to the network with an IP driver.
That's correct. So maybe there's not a sound card
Yeah.
like you were familiar with, a hardware sound card that goes into that old tower PC. Now it's a piece of software doing that same thing, and you're coming out of it.
One of the things that caught a little bit of attention in a talk I gave this morning was when I mentioned, hey, there's so much on-demand audio now, especially public radio stations or stations that have some public service programming, things that people want to grab after the fact.
There's always a podcast, right?
Right. There's always a podcast or a segment of a show or the best of, that kind of thing. And now we can take a file and we can actually process that with something like Omnia Tools. We can process that and we can save it on the server. And when people access it, it's already processed. In other words, we've made it sound good.
That's nothing new, right? We've had that file-based processing software for years. It used to be called FXE, and it had been around for years, and people used it for file-based stuff. I always Telos is that company, I think. Now, I'm jaded. I've been here a long time. But we're always on the bleeding edge. We're on the curve before everybody else is. And we were doing file-based stuff before people had really that file-based need like they do today. Now it's everywhere. You know, but 10 years ago when we were selling FXE, it was like, I don't really do much of that file-based stuff.
You know what? Because I was on the Axia bandwagon literally 20 years ago, and I remember
I hated you for it.
He hated me. That you worked at a competing company.
Yeah.
We were the guys inventing stuff and pushing stuff out there, and people would ask me, why would you want to do that? And now that's what everybody's doing.
That's what everybody does. We used to have that, and there are other boxes that we've made that maybe didn't set the world on fire, but they served a cool purpose, like an Omnia 8X. So it was a box that had 8 Omnia processors in it, but they never really set the world on fire. Some people bought them and some people loved them, and then we just kind of moved on and we just didn't continue it, chose not to continue it. Well, now other people do the same thing and they're making hay with it. So I kind of go, we're always, the cutting edge.
Hey, our time with Jim Armstrong is drawing to a close.
They're telling me I got to go.
Hey, Jim. Jeff Welton still hasn't shown up, but I could really use Hugh Price. Okay. If you could grab Hugh Price and force him, is he over there? No, he's gone, isn't he? Did he vamoose?
I got him. No, he's here.
Okay.
I'll go down.
If you could get him. Hey, it's This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack. We're live at the Alabama Broadcasters Association Convention. We're in Birmingham, Alabama. And I really appreciate the ABA. They are one of the best state broadcast organizations anywhere. Right here, Hugh, come on in. But when I say that, I mean, they just do so much for broadcasters. In fact, we learned today. Hi, Hugh. How you doing?
Hey, all right.
We're going to talk to you in just a minute. He's from Broadcasters General Store. We learned today that the ABA has always had a really good political contingent to go to Washington, D.C. and see all the lawmakers and, and advocate for broadcasters' positions on things, do that advocacy work with politicians. But also the ABA, you're familiar with the name Larry Wilkins. We've had Larry as a guest on our show numerous times. Larry, oh my gosh, what an engineer. He still does the alternate inspection programs and teaches others how to do that. But Larry puts on engineering programs several times a year here in Alabama. So engineers actually come from many different states to Alabama to attend the engineering workshops that they have. And they had one today here at the convention. So the ABA recognizes the value of engineers to our industry. And that's a really, really good thing. I want to remind you, coming up, we're going to be talking with Stephen Westbrook of the Alabama Historical Radio Society. We'll be moving our camera over to that in just a minute. Let me ask you to scoot over here closer here, Hugh, because we're going to get you in the camera frame really good. Hugh, you are with one of my favorite people in the whole world, one of my favorite companies, with
Broadcasters General Store.
And I've told the story before, so I won't tell a whole lot of time, but years ago, I did the engineering for Sam Phillips, the guy who discovered Elvis, the guy who started Sun Records and Phillips Recording Service. And I would build radio stations for Sam or fix broken ones. And Sam would call me over to his house. And after about an hour and a half of chatting, Sam, I'm charging you for this. Yeah, I know. So we'd make a list of gear to buy. And he'd say, Kurt, call them pretty little girls over there at Broadcaster's store and get them on the phone. Tell them to sharpen up their pencils. And so Sam would buy all kinds of gear from you guys.
Yeah. Yep. And that was probably the first generation of Pretty Little Girls.
It was, yeah. And you've got a second or second generation.
Yeah. I think it's the third generation.
And they're getting married now and got kids.
Yeah.
They're still pretty.
They are. Yeah.
And you're not so bad looking yourself,
I appreciate it.
Did you marry in the family?
I did. Yeah.
Which one are you married to?
Candace.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is she at home with the kids, or is she working in the store?
She's at home watching the kids. Okay. Still working, but
yeah. She does both.
Yeah.
All right. So BGS, you're one of our sponsors. Appreciate that very much. You guys represent some of the other people who we talk about on the show, like Angry Audio.
That's right. Yep.
What's been hot from Angry Audio lately?
Oh man,
is that Rave console kind of cool?
It is really cool. Got a big demand for that. They got all these gizmos and gadgets. They're doing mic processing right now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Cornelius Gould, we've had him on the show. He designed the algorithms that are in those. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Mike Dosh, designs the hardware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's been real popular with us.
Now, one of the things that I really like about BGS is, I tell people on the show, unlike so many businesses these days, you can pick up the phone and call BGS, and chances are about 92.8% you're going to get a live human being to answer the phone and talk to you about what you need to get. And you can get advice, what's hot, what's working well for people. Sometimes I would call with, hey, I want to buy this distribution amplifier. This was years ago. And they would say, that's been really hard to get, Kirk. We can order it for you, but it's going to be a while. Other people are buying this one instead. And I'd get, great, send me that other one instead. So you guys are full of good advice.
Yeah, I think that's one of our keys to success over however many 40 odd years, is our service to the customers and figuring out, what solution is going to work best for them. And we used, whatever resources we can get to do that.
Well, you guys have, over the years, you've built custom back-end software to keep track of manufacturers and products and the latest pricing and, shipping, whether it's a difficult or whether it's really good right now.
Yeah. It's helpful for us to get, provide lead times. We get people calling in who've ordered something 20 years ago that we have on file that we can pull serial numbers and work on, repairs and stuff like that.
Wow. Now, you guys stock a certain amount of stuff there, and other stuff you drop ship. You do both, right?
We do both. Okay. Mostly drop ship, but the things that are flying off the shelf, we keep in stock.
I'm going to give you a compliment. One thing that you guys do for us, me and my business partners, we've got some stations in American Samoa. Now, shipping stuff to American Samoa is a little difficult. However, if you ship it via the U.S. Post Office, it'll get there. And you guys, if we order something and we say, would you guys please ship it by the post office, not UPS, not FedEx, not DHL, because those are 10 times more expensive to Samoa, but ship it by the post office. You know what you guys do? You ship it by the post office.
Yeah. It's a little more difficult.
It takes a few extra steps
for that, but no. We handle it for you.
Yeah, you do. And we really appreciate that. That's one reason why we keep coming back over and over. In fact, we're about to order some Axia consoles from you. So yeah,
Right on. Let's
appreciate
do it.
Appreciate that. Other things I wanted to mention. You guys represent Broadcast Bionics.
Yep.
So what are some of the things that they have the virtual rack, but then they have camera one and
They have Camera One and Caller One, kind of a software solution for camera switching and providing phone lines.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And let's see. Oh yeah, you guys took out an ad in this, and oh yeah, there's the Caller One and Camera One right there. And then was there another ad in here you guys had?
yeah, we've got some Telos stuff.
Oh
in
yeah,
here.
that's right. See more, do more, control more. This is an ad for Pathfinder.
Yeah.
And so you guys sell the whole range of Telos Omnia Axia, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay. What's been hot lately? What are people calling about?
Well, all the virtual stuff, cloud-based stuff, the Quasar.
Oh yeah, the Quasar console.
Yeah, that's we're dealing a lot with that. And yeah,
There's still, you guys still handle all the tried and true stuff. Broadcast Tools is a co-sponsor with you guys on this show, and they still make a huge range of, boxes that help you do stuff. And in fact, oftentimes we talk about their silent sensors that'll alert you by email or text, and there's a web interface for those. So you get a lot of calls for Broadcast Tools equipment.
we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. We deal with over 700 manufacturers.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Cat 5 cable to TV cameras.
oh yeah,
Really?
we got it all. So a lot of it, it's not so much, here's what I could sell you. It's, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you a little story. So I've worked for Telos Alliance for years, and I was the international sales manager for a while, and I would deal with the international dealers. Now, we had a dealer in, let's just say, a South American country, and if you needed an audio console, a processor, or a flak jacket, they could get it for you. You guys don't do flak jackets, do you?
not that I'm aware of.
Let's hope you never need to. Let's see. There was one more. Oh yeah, one more thing I wanted to ask you about. For years, I would get quotes from you guys, and you would email me this beautiful looking quote, all laid out, nice and neat. And my eyes would always go over to the last column, which I think was the list price column. And I was always like, "Hey, this is list price. Where's my discount?" And then I'd realize, oh, the other column is the discount price. And I looked down and say, "Holy moly, that's quite a discount."
Yeah. As I think I've heard you say, we do have pretty sharp pencils.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we removed that part from the quote, so it's a little easier to read. But
Okay.
yeah, great pricing, great service. That's how we do it.
Well, it always took me back, but in a good way, when I'd see the list price, and then wait, that can't be right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is right. So sometimes my business partner Larry Fuss would call me. Look at this pricing. They can't give us a discount. Larry, look over 2 lines over. Look at that. Oh, I thought that was the taxes. No, that's Larry. That's the price. That's good. So
Highlighted yellow.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, I appreciate you guys being us at so many shows. You sponsor a lot of shows. You represent us, and we appreciate that. Now, the whole family's there. I'll just ask you real quick. Dave Kirsten, Carrie, of course, Candace, so many just good people there. Jonathan and Jessica. Yeah, you guys are a big family.
Yeah. It's a big crazy family.
Do you still have pets at the store?
We do. Yeah. They're depending on what day you come in, there may be more than some, but yeah, it gets a little crazy in there.
Well, Hugh, thank you very much for being with us, man. I appreciate you very, very much. And what time is it here? Oh, it's almost 4:30. Tell you what, we're going to. I'm still looking for Jeff Welton. Do you know Jeff?
I do.
I bet he's still yapping down there in there. Is there any chance you could wander down there and say, Jeff, they're waiting on you? Okay, that'd be really good if you could do that.
All right.
I'm going to vamp until then. So Hey, our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part. Let me talk about Angry Audio for a minute, and we'll get that not only out of the way, but we'll get you informed. And so, Suncast, if you want to stand by and get me some Angry Audio website, that'd be great. Angry Audio is a company that's owned by Mike Dosh. Now, Mike and I have been friends for years. I met Mike at Telos Alliance. He left Telos Alliance as their CEO and went and started his own company, Angry Audio. And then, yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate that. So Jeff Welton will be along shortly. And so Mike Dosh started Angry Audio, and then something very serendipitous happened. Uh, Dan Braverman decided to close the radio systems company. He was ready to retire and just didn't want to continue it anymore. Well, Mike Dosh came along and bought the stock of radio systems, bought a lot of the intellectual property, and bought Studio Hub. Now, if you've ever wired a studio with Studio Hub, you know what a huge advantage that is. And Mike Dosh incorporated the Studio Hub standard into Axia gear years ago, like 20 years ago. So, point is, Angry Audio is a great company to buy things from. You look at what they have on their website at angryaudio.com and look at the Studio Hub gear as well, like this World interface, the World I/O panel. There's adapters and cables, the dongles, the match jacks, the panels, and the power supplies. Everybody, look at on the screen right now, all these adapters, the RJ45 to XLRs to RCAs, just all the different kinds of adapters that are available, because so much equipment these days uses the Studio Hub standard to get audio in and out. Oh, and you know, one of the real pains to wire, and that's satellite receivers. Oh my goodness, you don't want to spend all day soldering D sub connectors for satellite receivers. Get your adapter from Studio Hub. You can just look up and see the brand of satellite receiver, the model you have, and you can just buy the right thing for audio and for GPIO coming out of the satellite receiver. It's so convenient. It has saved me a ton of time at my radio stations in Mississippi and in Hawaii. It's really been a real blessing to be able to use that. Plus, Angry Audio has, as we mentioned, mic processing, stream processing, headphone processing, and now the USB audio gizmo. That's been an amazing interface because it's really high quality. And finally, the Rave console, which is now shipping. So if you need a small little analog console that's really well built, the Rave radio mixing console is the thing to get. Thanks a lot to Angry Audio for sponsoring this week in Radio Tech. Really appreciate you. Hey, there's Micah over there. Micah, I'm ready for you, dude. Come on over. Micah Dempsey is coming over. He's from Max Connect. Hey, man, good to see you. Hi. Have a seat here. Hey, can we get Lindsay to bring that big prop over here? We've got about a minute for you to tell us about Max Connect Wireless. Okay. And I've told people how Max Connect has saved my bacon several times. What do you know about Max Connect Wireless? You have something to do with that.
A little bit, yeah. Yep. I do most of the provisioning and most of the support for it as well. So
also, if I order Max Connect, it kind of goes through your hands first.
Most likely, yeah. Okay.
So at its fundamental core, what's the big benefit to Max Connect Wireless over a T-Mobile home internet, for example?
Well, the biggest thing is the prioritized service.
Yeah.
So it all comes with public static IPs, and it doesn't get bogged down with network congestion the same way a consumer SIM would. So it's still susceptible to, it's still LTE.
Right.
That's the one little caveat we always say. It's still susceptible to the network's infrastructure, right. You know.
But you're not competing with a bunch of other users typically, right?
Correct, yeah. And that's the biggest thing is when you have a connection to a tower and it's high bandwidth,
right,
and it's getting bogged down by a bunch of people's phones, this cuts through that and is unaffected by it.
So I've got a couple of older Max Connect modems, and they're perfectly reliable. I've used them to do this show in places where my T-Mobile gave me a good speed, did not give me good packet delivery, right? Also, the hotel Wi-Fi was great for 2 minutes, and then it was totally off for 15 seconds, and then great for 2 minutes and off for 15 seconds. So I pulled out the Max Connect box. The show was perfect, and that has happened actually twice. in Florida and also in Las Vegas. Similar symptoms. The Max Connect saved my bacon. But you've got even newer modems now. You've got a whole collection of them back here behind us.
We do, yeah.
What are the new features that you find in these newer modems?
I'll actually pull one out if that's okay. This is one of our newest ones. Where's the camera?
Oh, it's over there. There you go.
This has a internal battery that can run up to like 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
So it's portable. It's really great for remotes, getting out in the field, and it only has just the LTE connectors. The Wi-Fi is internal.
It's got LAN connections, right?
It's got 2 Ethernet ports. Yep,
Okay.
that can be a wired WAN or LAN, and then a second LAN port. They're really great just because they have a little. They can do the carrier aggregation to where it can get a little faster throughput on them. There's some of my. This is one of my favorites currently, is just because of the port. It's also a USB-C is the charge port.
Now it's got on the back. It's got a WAN. One port is WAN LAN. The other one is LAN. The WAN port. Could I have this online as a online backup for my regular internet service? And if this
Correct.
goes away, this will take over?
Correct. Yeah, you can do it failover, which all of these devices do these functions. They're all fully functional routers. And that's what a lot of people use them for. Like transmitter sites will use their main ISP, and then use the Max Connect as a failover in case something happens to the main.
I've got a couple of transmitter sites that we have a wireless ISP, but I must say, as much as I really like the company, the guy that owns the wireless ISP, it's not as reliable as I would like to see. And because sometimes I swear it's going through 6 towers before it gets to me, the wireless ISP, and usually on unlicensed radios. So who knows what. But if I had one of these and that wireless ISP goes away, this will take over.
Correct. Yep. And that's another big nature of the service is whereas consumer SIMs can be bursty.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, it's great speeds for that moment, and then it kind of drops. So when you're trying to pass audio or do something like that, you want it to be steady and reliable, and that's kind of what this whole service was designed to do.
Gotcha.
So you can still you can still have low LTE speeds because they are low comparably, but as long as you have enough, it'll sit there and stay and let you get your stream through.
Well, we use ours at WEVL. We've used that for a backup for a micro MPX feed, and that's worked great. It's worked perfectly. Say they were doing it in the middle of a fundraiser, and their normal internet service died for like 4 days.
Yeah.
In the fundraiser, and I got in the car, drove down, put the Max Connect in. They were on the air within 10 minutes of me getting there. And they were on for the whole fundraiser. It literally
Fantastic.
Saved their budget for 6 months.
And you look like a hero.
I did.
Yeah.
Thanks to you guys. So Max Connect Wireless. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to maxconnect.com. I know it's spelled funny because of the internet, but Micah will get you set up. Micah, thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kirk.
Appreciate your help. And hey, if you wouldn't mind, go grab Jeff Welton for me. Tell him he's needed. Tell him he's needed. Hey, This Week in Radio Tech, and we kind of bunched our commercial sponsors together because we like to hear about technology from people who know the stuff. And usually it's me telling you about it, but we get to bring the people in who actually know the stuff. Come on in, Jeff. Jeff Welton. Everybody knows Jeff. How'd your session go?
Oh, it was terrible. It was awful. No, I mean, yeah. Oh, it sucked bad. No, the cool thing about this stuff at this point, I mean, we're talking about transmitter sites and site security.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun because everybody's like, there's always something where somebody will look at it and go, oh, I never thought of it that way before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So like IT security, as an example, we got talking about backups. Do you test your IT backups like you test your generator?
Okay.
Do you?
Well, our main internet goes off often enough to where it gets tested. Yes.
But so I gave the example. I said, what happens if you get hit with ransomware and have to flush your whole system and rebuild from a backup for your traffic directory, your we got the audience. What do they call it? The hecklers.
The hecklers.
The hecklers. We got
They're
hecklers.
probably, at least they're behind the camera.
Well, that's the best place for them. But yeah, I mean that's something that a lot of folks don't think about is when you're backing up your databases and like your music database or your as played. When was the last time you verified whether that backup worked?
My backup, I got the phone number for the NSA. They've got all my data. They got my passwords, everything.
See, now I just use cheap Chinese routers and just.
They have it. Hey, let's talk for a minute about Nautel since you work there. Do you know anything about the GV2 transmitters?
I hear they're making them. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so the GV2 and John White is currently going to roll over in his. John White's our marketing director, so he's going to yell at me. The GV2 is a souped up version of the regular GV. So we've added the hooks to do the virtualized HD platform.
Oh yeah,
is the big thing.
yeah.
We've virtualized the HD importer exporter, added internal Omnia
So does that mean
processor.
the equivalent of your multicast plus box is in here?
Yes.
The equivalent of that.
So
is in
so what we've done is put all of the HD gear in the transmitter. And people say eggs and baskets, but it's all part of the same air chain, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so what we've done is added the ability to virtualize the whole thing. It's running all Omnia inside processing using Omnia 9EXS. And we've got the ability now to allow people, you can put in the transmitter, and if you don't know if you want to do HD or not, turning on as part of our, we call it,
Test drive.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
See, he knows my stuff better than I know my
Well,
stuff.
you guys pay me every month to know that.
Well, that's why they
Right.
obviously
So I
they
know
just
it.
pay me to sell it. I'm not paid to know it, but yeah. So with the test drive, you've got the ability if you've got the new GV2 to, and I mean this software is 3-4 months away roughly, end of the year they're telling me, but you'll have the ability to just turn it on and run it for 6 months, and Expiry has offered a deferred license.
Okay.
So that you can run it for, I think they're saying up to 6 months.
Yeah.
And then you can make the call then.
Yes.
Well, do I want to turn it on or do I want to walk away?
Right.
If you turn it on, you pay the license fee and carry on with it.
Right.
And
Right.
if you don't, then you just turn it off and keep going in analog.
This the GV2 is also the transmitter that offers that new EAS at the edge technology,
Yes.
to where you can have you don't have to loop out of your air chain to go through your EAS box and then back in. The new digital alert systems,
Right.
DAS,
The
stuff,
DAS tech.
the DAS
Yeah.
deck will talk directly to this
Mhm.
if you have infused the Omnia processor inside.
Yeah. And the advantage to that too is that it gives you the ability to break in and put the EAS on your analog, your HD1, your HD2, your HD3, simultaneously. The other thing that and this just came up as part of our demo at NAB, I said, well, what about if I've got a translator on one of my HDs that's in another county and I don't want to put the HD or the EAS on that?
Yeah.
So we're looking at being able to target EAS as well.
Gotcha.
So because it's all software, it becomes a whole lot simpler than when you've got to work with physical boxes and relays.
We also did a show where we talked about one of the benefits of this EAS at the edge is on your HDs you can replace the normal logo or the album art with a graphic.
Yes.
That displays what's going on. So even if you don't catch the live announcement, you get back in your car, you've been shopping, you look around, the weather looks kind of bad, or I smell a nuclear bomb. You can turn and the message will still be there. It'll be continually transmitted until the tornado warning's over with.
Right. The other advantage too is you've got the ability, and we were demoing this to some extent in Vegas, but one of the, again, I guess, future forward thinking sort of things. If you had a silver alert or an amber alert,
right,
you could, or I think Florida has purple alerts or something like that. So you can color code the display as well to tie to the severity of the alert. A tornado warning versus a tornado watch, that's a significant level of difference in preparation.
Yeah.
So it's really cool how it's potentially moving.
I've lived through a lot of tornado watches. I've almost died in several tornado warnings.
Well, and that's the thing. A tornado watch is like, it's a little cloudy out there. A tornado warning is, I'm heading to the basement right now.
Right. Jeff, I appreciate you joining us. I hope you'll come back and join us for a whole show sometime.
My pleasure, Kirk. It's always fun.
You can give us the the spiel that I mean the talk that you gave today.
The spiel was a good word for it, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And I mean, this one, I'd say I'm a little punchy right now because I pulled in here this morning about 3:30, and at 7:30 I was down here setting the booth up. So I'm running totally on caffeine and very limited brain cells. Some will say that's not much different than normal.
I believe they're serving margaritas here shortly.
Oh, be perfect. All right, we'll see you later, buddy.
Hey, I want to warn Suncast, if you could have a video ad for Broadcast Bionics queued up. We're going to go to that here in just a minute. I'm sorry that the show has been all out of order, but I appreciate you playing along very nicely. In just a minute, we're going to have a good conversation with Stephen Westbrook with the Alabama Historical Radio Society. Stay tuned. We're going to have a good conversation about that, and that'll last the rest of the show. So, Suncast, if you're ready, love to hear from Broadcast Bionics. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Bionic Studio. The Bionic Studio brings all audience interaction to the fingertips of a production team in radio, TV, and podcast. Our workflow-led system is working 24/7 around the world for small broadcasters and national and international networks. Our telephony module, Bionic Talk Show, allows cost-effective centralization, remote operation, scalability, and resilience across an entire network of stations, but at the same time is used in single-studio self-op environments. Social media curation and activity is now considered a broadcast-critical part of programming. Bionic Social means the studio isn't overwhelmed with a wall of interaction from an ever-growing number of social platforms. We combine SMS, MMS, and email together with a speech-to-text service for listeners using smart speakers. We enable studio teams to curate, filter, and display all platforms in one place, and post text, images, and video content to multiple platforms in one operation. Effortless collection of video content with Bionic Director has helped position some of the world's most successful stations as leaders in viral content, generating appointments to listen and free marketing via retweets and shares. Bionic Contest enables end-to-end tracking of on-air competitions, live reads, and prizes. These can be on-air contests, automated SMS entry, or online. Anywhere, and Skype TX for Radio brings high-quality audio and video contribution into the studio with ease. No need for dedicated PCs to run different applications. Everything is controlled within the Bionic Studio UI, and incoming connections are visible to users along with all other platforms. Our codec integration enables connection, algorithm configuration, and directory to a wide range of IP and ISDN codecs. The Bionic Studio, a unique suite of products designed to enable your talent to work smarter.
Thanks a lot to Broadcast Bionics and the Bionic Studio for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Hey, I just want to make sure I'm back on. Woo, we had to move the cameras and move the studio all around. Stephen Westbrook is standing by, and he's going to be with us in just a second. Paul is here. Paul, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Enjoying the Alabama show here, and
I was talking with a customer just yesterday about the lack of really high quality contract and consulting services that's available, and you are doing more and more and more of that at Summit Technology Group. Would you give us just a quick explanation of what you're doing there?
Absolutely. So earlier in the year, we sort of rolled out a new service line where we're doing broadcast technical consulting. So we purchased the vSoft suite of products, and we're doing a lot with technical consulting, anything from FCC applications, minor and major modifications, RFR, FM upgrade studies, interference studies, things of that nature. So we're doing a lot more of that. Really, sort of getting busy in that sort of vertical market.
Yeah.
And then also, with the sale and installation of transmitters, studio builds, things of that nature. That's we feel like that's always sort of a cyclical thing, just based on the season. But certainly doing quite a bit of studio builds and transmitter installs.
And I apologize for us running out of time here. I want to have you back on a whole show because I didn't realize you're doing vSoft. You're also doing some intermediary software for RDS.
Yes.
Is that cloud-based or in the building?
Yeah, so that's cloud-based. So Postmaster is a
Really?
patented solution, cloud-based RDS transport. very cyber secure, and it's built into the new firmware of the Innovonics Model 732
Okay.
RDS encoders.
Wow. Okay. And anything else that you want to highlight that's at your booth here? You said the VSoft, the cloud-based
RDS and
RDS?
and then TundraCast,
What
which
is
is it's our brand new, well, it's version 2.0 of our streaming software. So
Okay.
we've had it in the market for about 3 years at this point, and it's sort of a refresh. It has a brand new interface, monetization tools, automated sound exchange reporting, so it's very powerful,
Oh,
very easy to use. HLS streaming, failover, and things
Yeah,
of that
yeah.
nature. So.
wow. Again, I apologize. We're running. It seems like this always happens. I don't plan this very well.
Nope.
But let's do a whole show together, okay?
That sounds great.
And either in person if you ever come through the Nashville area, or we can do it remote like we normally do.
Sure.
Let's get. Where are you based out of?
We're in Kego Harbor, Michigan, so about 40 minutes outside of Detroit.
Okay. Oh well, you're close to our producer, Suncast.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
outside Detroit too.
Oh, excellent,
Yeah, yeah.
excellent. Okay.
Paul, thank you very much.
Likewise,
We'll have
thank
links to your company and products in the show notes.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
again. All right. That was Paul, and Steve Westbrook is here. Steve, thank you for your patience, man. I really appreciate you very much. You're with the Alabama Historical Radio Society.
That's correct.
Come on in, camera
Yes.
range here a little
Okay.
closer. You know what? I need to move the camera back a little bit. That's what I really, really need to do. We're going to move the camera right out into the hallway and see if we can trip anybody.
There we go.
How's it? Let's see. We can probably turn it that way a little bit. No, I'm sorry. That was the wrong way to turn it. We can turn it this way a little bit. I could use a production assistant. You know that?
Might help.
So, Steve, I just met you a couple
Yes,
hours ago,
that's correct.
and this has been a delight. Tell me about the Alabama Historical Radio Society, and I'll give you the mic.
That's fine.
Okay,
Alabama Historical Radio Society, we were started about 35 years ago by Don Kresge, who was a General Electric engineer. He had worked with Edwin Armstrong, who basically invented FM radio, among other things. And Don just realized that the history of radio was being lost. And so he started an organization here in Birmingham. And we've grown over the years. We've got probably about 100 active members and about 350 to 400 people on our communications network. And we have a museum. This is the Alabama Power main headquarters building here in Birmingham. And then we also have a shop, which is a continuation of our museum, which has production equipment from Joe Rumor from WVOK, and also the equipment used by Joe Dennessy, who was with the local radio station SGN, as well as running a pirate radio station.
I have a question about your relationship with Alabama Power. So they've given you some space in their headquarters.
Well, we've got some space in their headquarters in which we have our displays. We have about 6 cabinets that have a lot of our equipment, including equipment, a Superflex radio made by Alabama Radio Products Corporation. It was an Alabama company in the 1920s. It's the only radio made in the South during that period. And we have 2 copies of that radio on our display.
Would that radio look a little like an Atwater Kent? I mean, what would I?
That's correct. It's in the same vintage as Atwater Kent.
So, you were before the show. You were taking me through some of the things in the history of Alabama radio, and you mentioned something about you provided, the radio provided the way to communicate with, I don't know, people working on the power lines. And that was an early tech.
That's correct. Looking behind you is the photographs of the WSY, which is We Serve You. It was started by Alabama Power Company in 1922, and it was to be able to communicate with their linemen and their distribution system, as well as their power production facilities at the dams throughout Alabama, keeping them abreast of changing weather, changing information about the power distribution, and so forth. Then they gradually moved into doing entertainment, which was involved in production of programming and so forth, using local talent as well as Alabama Power employees. They stayed in business, that radio business, for about 2 years, and decided to get out of that business, and they donated their equipment to a little college in South Alabama called Alabama Polytechnical Institute. better known as Auburn University. And then the equipment eventually they changed and upgraded their equipment and moved back to Birmingham and became a powerhouse radio and television operation here in Birmingham called WAPI.
My goodness. Yeah, a lot of history here. One thing that certainly caught my eye is you have a book, the autobiography of Lee DeForest, and a picture of Lee DeForest. And you had some interesting words about this guy. We know him as the inventor of the Audion tube, the triode tube, but there's quite a bit of history to Lee DeForest.
Yes, his father and family lived in North Alabama, in the Midwest, and moved to Alabama. And his father became the president of Talladega College here in Alabama. And Lee DeForest grew up here. Then he moved off to fame and fortune in providing information and research and radio. He did a lot of different things, but he was more of a P.T. Barnum as opposed to the real things, such as what Edwin Armstrong and some of the other inventors were really doing. He had a tendency to file very encompassing patents and then sue people for infringement. The funny thing about that is when he sued Edwin Armstrong, who's the real deal, Edwin Armstrong had to explain the audio tube, its operation to the court system. He couldn't explain his own tube.
So. Oh my goodness! So we in your brochure, it's a little hard to show this on the camera here. We're going to do a show. I want to do a show about you. We'll have these pictures we can put on full screen. But when people would come to visit the Historical Radio Society of Alabama, you can come in without an appointment and see the display cases and read about that, right?
That's correct. At the Alabama Power Building, their headquarters building, that's open in their normal business hours, which is about 8:30 till 5 Monday through Friday. Those are in the atrium area. Now, just up the street, we have our main museum area building, which has our library, full computer function, radio display, both in the ham radio area as well as broadcast radio. We also have two different production facilities. One was Joe Rumore from WVOK, a 50,000 watt clear channel station. And like I said before, Joe Dennesy's station, which is for its pirate radio station operation.
Gotcha. Now, you're actively involved with education, and tell me about what education programs that you're doing. Let's move back away from the camera a little bit. What are you doing there?
Well, we do once a month. We do basic electronics classes. It's anybody can come, and it's done by professional educators, basically covering radio, radio technology, tube type radio, moving into transistors and so forth. And then we also do some things with students, as far as ones that are coming in for a requirement through homeschooling. A lot of them come through as a group and introduce them to technology and radio and expose them to what we do.
Seems like Boy Scouts could use a little education there for a merit badge. You ever get Boy Scouts?
That's correct. We have a group coming in here in August, a group of Boy Scouts that will come in for training that will use toward their radio merit badge.
Steve, what did you do in radio before you got involved with doing this?
Well, I never was directly involved in radio. This is to say, my father worked for AT&T for 43 years in major communications and so forth. And before that, he was in the military in World War II and was going to be involved in the invasion of Japan. And so after I was doing that, he also had a electronics firm on the side doing industrial electronics, which also included installing language laboratories throughout the Birmingham area. And so I got involved in electronics that way. And then I got interested in radio, got interested from my grandfather's viewpoint. He was a blind ham radio person back during World War II, involved with a group called Swarm that took propaganda communications from the Nazis and from Japan and made the local people who would be aware of where their sons may be imprisoned during the war. And so I kind of got interested in it that way.
Wow. Do you have a website presence?
Yes, we do. It's alhrs.org or just Alabama Historical Radio Society. We have a website that has information about the society, full information about repair facilities as well as our own. Also, a lot of information with scholarly papers on history of radio in Alabama.
This is fascinating. Has this been a labor of love for you?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Wow. And did you start this or help start it?
My brother did.
Okay.
My brother was involved originally in 1989. I might be in what you call the first pledge class. I was in about 1990, 91 when I got involved in it.
Wow. That's amazing. We'll put a link in the show notes so you can online come and see the Alabama Historical Radio Society. They have a meeting coming up in 2025. Of course, is there a notice for that on the website?
Yes, there is. We in every April we do what's called Legends of Broadcast. What that is we invite all the broadcasters throughout Alabama to come to our facility, and we provide fellowship. Then we also record video history about radio broadcasting, and gather information that way. So it's open to everyone. They just need to let us know they're coming.
It's really awesome. I appreciate. I was 3 hours ago. I didn't know this was here, and I was looking for a place to do today's TWiRT from. It was suggested I take up this table over here, and then I met Steve, and I saw this amazing display here. Unfortunately, here on the podcast, it's kind of hard to get this information good on camera because I got one camera. But we'll have Steve on, and either I'll come in person to see them, or we'll put a program together on TWiRT to show you this. But you can, in the meantime, go to the website and check that out. We'll have a link in the show notes. Steve, come stand next to me here. We're about to just say goodbye to everyone.
Right.
Our audience is broadcast engineers, and
yes.
a lot of them are the same age as you and me.
Right.
And then for the younger ones, it's always good to see, where the industry came from,
Right.
what led up to this. And if you study any electronics at all, you're going to hear about Lee DeForest and Armstrong,
Exactly.
and people like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to go. Thanks a lot for joining us on This Week in Radio Tech. Big thanks to Suncast for producing today's show and keeping up with a changing show, more changing than usual. Thanks to all of our guests. We look forward to seeing you next week. In fact, I think next week our guest is Marcus O'Rourke, and he's going to be showing us the workings of a satellite-based radio network, uplink and headquarters, Network Operations Center. That's coming up next week on TWiRT. So we'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech.